All right. Hello, dear star shines. Thanks for waiting. Hello, hello. Welcome to today's Lunchtime Chats. I'll give everybody a second. Sorry, I'm a little late. I'm the original place I was going to record. The internet was no bueno. It was really not good, so I had to come back here. And it looks like it might rain, so I also need to find a place where I can have a roof over my head, just in case it does. So, welcome everybody. Welcome, welcome. For those of you who are new, my name is Christina and I'm an acceleration expert. And we are here to talk about those topics and issues that are significant for us starseeds, way showers, and new paradigm visionaries, right? We have capacities that are not embraced by our larger human family. Therefore, we have a very unique perspective on today's challenges and what's going on in the world. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. Today, the kinds of things I would love to talk about. One is, I don't know if you guys caught some of the comments in a reel that we had on Instagram, that some adverse reactions about the solar flash narrative, right? So I want to talk about that because this is really important. Because I believe the comment was something about, oh, you're falling for, wrong, falling for a psy-op. So there's that kind of thing. And I'm curious, for those of you who are out there that know about that solar flash narrative, that maybe resonate with it or maybe not, what do you think? Do you feel like that could possibly be a psy-op? Now, there's lots of psy-ops in the communities these days. It's an old technique that's been going on for a long, long time, but it just recently, I think, has been weaponized and executed on a global level about la cucaracha and other things. You know what I mean? But it's actually something that's been going on for a very, very long time. So I'm curious if you guys have any feedback or any thoughts about that, about these different, and it doesn't even have to be about solar flash. What other narratives in the lightworker world do you suspect perhaps are just manipulations, are potential psy-ops to capture starseeds, capture their attention, capture their will, capture their focus, to participate, to collude with creating a reality that's not actually in our best interest? I'm curious if any particular narratives come to mind. So let's go on to let's go on to specifically about the solar flash thing, and I've been asked about this multiple times, and my response is that I see evidence that supports that as being a possibility, and the evidence is the response that I feel happen in my body, in my personal experience in a biosuit, when there's massive CMEs. I can feel CMEs, and I'm sure you guys can too. When there's massive solar activity, we can feel it in our nervous system. We can feel it in our body. And I mean, how many times have you guys been like, felt like there's a lot of pressure or there's a lot of angst inside and you can't put your finger on it, and you find out that there's been a volley of CMEs released that day, or a combination of CMEs, coronal mass injections, in conjunction with some Schumann resonance spikes, right? We feel these things in our nervous system because we are connected. So I am willing to entertain the solar flash idea because there's evidence in my experience that backs up that could possibly be so. Yeah, but there's others. There's other things too, and I'm curious, where you guys are at. What do you feel about this? All right, dear sister Tasha. Hi, good to see you, dear. She says, I feel like it's possible. It's a possibility. I resonate with it when I first heard about it, but my resonance was fear-based, and I've moved away from that focus. Ah, now you're getting to something really interesting, right? So the fear that comes up, the triggers that happen. That is, yeah. Let's talk about that. I would love. Yeah, we should dive into that, because this is depending on our relationship to the inner reflection, like how clear we can get when we're reflecting within ourselves, right? We can get to different places, and fear can actually serve to bring us someplace deeper, versus fear to keep us locked in a place of good or bad, right or wrong, right? Like it's used to hold us at a particular kind of bandwidth, of frequency, hold us in a polarity, let's say. And I'm just going to review real quick for those of you who haven't been listening to the chats for a while. There's something called that I call the canopy, the 4D canopy, which is a highly polarized field, and it's full of lots of landmines, and the landmines are all about good, bad, right, wrong, you know, and good, evil, light, dark. Okay, this is the polarity field of that 4D grid. Some people have also referred to it as a like layers within that grid, things like the Atlantean grids, the checkerboard grids, the Lumerian. There's all sorts of grids that are within that canopy, but and those those are so. But when I'm talking about the canopy, I'm talking about the collective grid network system as a whole, right? As a whole, not just specific layers of it. So when we are, this canopy filters through all the higher dimensional aspects of who we are. So who we are as a being, as far as an infinite being having an human experience, one that has many lifetimes, one that constantly comes back and reincarnates itself, right? That is, we're blinded to that aspect of who we are because of this polarity grid, because of this 4D field. And then there's another aspect of who we are, which is our light bodies. Our light bodies are pretty much we can call divine blueprint of the map of our consciousness as it is to unfold within the Milky Way galaxy. And then you have, beyond that, you have the soul song, the sound, the tone of your soul frequency that creates the shape, the geometry of the light body, right? So you have all these higher dimensional levels of who you are, and this 4D field obscures that. It creates a level of interference, so we can't resource ourselves from that level of our knowing until we do, of course. And that is what Starseeds are here to do, indigos and new paradigm way showers. This is what we're here to do. We're here to sort out the trees through the jungle, so to speak, right? So we can pull those frequencies into our awareness without the contamination, without the inversion and reversal and the polarity that happens with that 4D field. Okay. All right, thank you I needed to go back and explain that part before I go into this next part, which is how to tell something is a manipulation, right? Because it's really difficult to tell when things are manipulation, because there's a lot of truths that get released that it's so shocking. It's so in such contrast to what we thought we knew. It's really triggering. And that trigger usually is anger, making things wrong, denial, fear, right? There's that, right? But the thing is about that once you get exposed to information like that and you got to sit with it for a while, you are able to come to a different place in relationship to it, such as the topic of chakra removal. We talk about this a couple times a year because someone comes in and is like, I just heard about chakra removal. I think it's impossible. You would die without your chakras, right? Not necessarily, right? But that is not a response that happens immediately. We have to first get exposed to the narrative, and maybe we start to get exposed to humans that have a different energy system. Maybe we get exposed to other information in our dream time. Maybe we, you know what I mean? As we digest these ideas that seem to be impossible and total contrast juxtaposition of what we think is so, as we digest it, we arrive to a new relationship with that information. Okay. So there's that kind of reaction, right? There's that kind of fear response, anger response, the kind that challenges our belief systems, and then we digest it and we come to a different relationship. But then you have things like psy-ops, right? This is a new catchword, but manipulation of starseeds has been going on for decades, folks, decades. We've been targeted from the get-go. Many of us get targeted upon entry to this galactic plane. So this is an old story. This is a very old story. It's just gotten more sophisticated these days because there are a lot more starseeds coming to this planet than what has been coming before. Now, I would resonate maybe more with the word indigo. I'm an early generation indigo. I know people who were born a couple decades before I was that are also indigos, you know. So we've been coming for a while. It's just now we're coming en masse. And my guidance is indicating that, you know, more than 20% of the population being born these days are starseeds, right? But then, you know, they started coming en masse ever since the 80s. The 80s, they started coming in larger and larger numbers. And now we have several generations of humans that are starseeds / indigos, right? So we have this innate awareness, we have these abilities, we have capacities that are beyond the normal human experience, and or I'd say not embraced by the normal human experience, and therefore, you know, we don't succumb to the usual level of manipulation. It's like we see right through the religious game, we see right through the God poison, we see right through the polarity games of political affiliations of different the education system, the what do they call it, wait a minute, the green movement, all this stuff. It's like we can see the manipulation within the truth. It's like we just have this way we can just recognize the truth, no matter how twisted and distorted it presents itself. We can sort through the mess and get to the meat of it, get to the truth of it. So we need a different strategy to get manipulated, and that is the whole lightworker movement. If you think about it, the whole New Age movement, extremely infiltrated with lots of contaminated practices and thoughts. So it would not come to surprise at all that maybe all of them are manipulated, right? That might be a triggering thought, but know that that triggering thought is challenging a belief. Now, how you can tell something is in a manipulation in a psy-op kind of way is that you're locked into it. You're not able to move in relationship to the information. It actually grips you on an energetic level where you cannot imagine beyond it. You're not dreaming beyond it. Your feeling body, your frequency of your emotional body is locked in a state of fear, and you cannot let it go. So no matter what you do, oh my gosh, I have an ant nipping at my toes. Okay, maybe I need to talk about the ant people today too. We'll see. So all these. So this is how you mainly tell the difference, is that, you know, it's a locked in kind of situation, and it's an either or. There's not an and to it. And as I've talked about in so many other chats, the secret to mastering that 4D field is being able to entertain the thoughts and ideas of as it all being possible. It's also, it's not an this or that. It's this and that. And you see what I mean? There's no polarity. It's all together. And yes, there can be contrasts. There can be conflicts, contradictions, but that's okay. The contradictions are helping us navigate what our truth is, navigate through this jungle so we can see the trees, so we can see, allow these other frequencies to come in and not be locked into any particular polarity, such as good or bad, right or wrong, male, female. That's a big one. We get locked into these pieces, and then there's nowhere to go. Now, I don't know about you, but I can tell when a manipulation of the narrative starts going on, or there's energy being pushed at me, is because I start to feel it. I'll feel it in my throat, and I'll feel it in my solar plexus. And it's like matter of fact, I feel like all of a sudden everything's painted into a corner and there's nowhere to move. It's like a rock in a hard place. That is an indication of manipulation going on. That's an indication of a psy-op. Okay. This is very interesting to feel into it. I don't know if you guys remember, I'm going to date myself here. Remember Y2K? I feel like that was testing ground. That was a total testing ground to worldwide manipulation of a narrative. And I mean, of course, now we know it's total bullshit. But back then, a lot of people were freaking out about it. And, software engineers and companies and banks and all this stuff were retooling their databases to have a 4-digit date code instead of a 2-digit date code. This was a huge deal in the software industry way back when. And of course, people were upset. They were fearful. They were, preparing for doomsday, all because of Y2K. But it turned out to be total hype. It was all bullshit, right? So there's another narrative out there that also was a manipulation, and that was, the whole end of the world with the 2012, right? A lot of people say there's a lot of conflicting narratives about 2012, even to this day. And some say there was a huge, sorry, I'm jiggling my thing. There was a huge shift. Some feel like a massive change happened and we stepped into a time of no time. And other people say nothing happened. And other people expected, the world to end, and yet nothing happened. Okay. And this is all to create confusion. It's all to keep us from stepping into focusing on the reality we want to create. That's the whole point of it. So, and really, it doesn't matter what's good or bad, right or wrong. What matters is how it impacts you. Does it stop you from doing things? Does it stop you from envisioning and executing, creating the life that you want? Does it stop you from creating that business? Does it stop you from, writing that play? Does it stop you from doing something that really makes that you really want to do, that's in your heart to do, that's in your soul purpose to execute? So that's really, one of the big side effect of these manipulations is that it keeps us locked in a particular frequency where we lose our creativity, we lose our creative will, and we continue to participate in the 4D, holding the 4D canopy up, a polarity of fear mongering, of siphoning off life force energy and all this stuff. I remember when Q was a big thing. I don't know if Q still is a big thing. I don't really follow those stuff, and I'm not on social media either. It's like the chats is it. This is my social media time right here. But I have friends that follow Q very closely. They may still. We just don't talk about it anymore because my friends that follow Q get a little frustrated with me because I treat everything with suspicion. I question everything, right? So if in those narratives, sorry, I don't want to go down that branch. If those narratives are creating anxiety and fear and stress and stuff like this, then, I'm not going to engage. I'm going to stand back and I'm going to hold them at arm's length, and I'll wait and see. Now, if there are events that come to pass that validate these stories, that validate these narratives, then I'm gonna look at them more, still cautiously, but give them a little more weight. I will look at them more closely. But until I start having things within my own experience that are corroborating these different narratives, I keep them at a distance. I don't accept anything as being absolutely true. And another thing that's really helpful is the observation of timeline jumping. And this is another reason why I don't say this is the truth, absolute truth, and there's nothing else. I don't do that anymore because I've experienced timeline jumping so often that there are times when I swear I wrote that note and I dotted that I and crossed that T, but all of a sudden I'm in a timeline where the note never even happened, right? And I'm racking my brain. Am I going crazy? I know I did that. It's like, yes, I did do that, but my consciousness is on a different timeline where that hasn't been done, right? So this is something that's also very interesting. So consider the possibility that there are timelines where some narratives don't exist. There are timelines where other narratives do exist. That also adds more complexity into this equation. This is another reason why we cannot get locked in, or, well, we can, but to remain free within ourselves and liberated within ourselves, we need to let go of this right, wrong, black, white, good, bad, right, wrong mentality. It drives us to do things that are not in our truth. And that's another layer of all this. A psy-op, because a psy-op is giving you all the ammo you need, a narrative, a strong emotional response, a thought, a program. It gives you all the internal ammo you need to dehumanize another group of people. Okay? It's giving you the validation, even the strategy on how to dehumanize a group of people. This is another layer. So if you are prescribing to a narrative that justifies you doing that, this is your invitation right here, right now, to check yourself. Is it right for you to dehumanize people because you think you're right and they're wrong? Is it okay to dehumanize somebody because you have some narrative told to you that they're A, B, C, and D, right? So these manipulations are really, really, really intense these days. And they're especially the ones that are targeting starseeds, because they are hitting us on many levels, multidimensionally. It's not only news, it's not only music, it's not only, the, the conditioning and our upbringing and stuff like this, like, for example, the eco movement. Not that I'm not for proper custodialship of the earth. I absolutely am. And that's the key: proper care, proper custodialship of this 3D realm. But that's not just nature, that's also each other. That's humans, that's animals, that's life in general, not just carbon emissions, right? Not just, what our political establishment has turned it into. Another example of manipulation, right? All right, dear sister, let's see what we have going. Oh, let me say hi to folks. Hello, dear sister Carol and Beverly. Glad you're here. Hello, Tony and Joanne. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Feeling a bit lightheaded and then internally tired this AM. Oh, yeah. So I actually did watch Suspicious Observer this morning, and there was significant solar flare activity last night, over the past 24 hours. That might be a contribution. And as you guys know, when certain kinds of solar flares happen that have a strong magnetic signature that starts to impact our Schumann resonance. So all these things, are impactful to how we feel in our bodies. All right, dear sister Tasha says, I've noticed that a lot of younger teachers are popping up on the school system, sharing deep truths with local youth. It's such a relief. Oh, thank you for telling me that. That is such a relief. Wow. Yeah, that is really great to know. Wonderful. Yeah, because our education system is in a lot of trouble because of, the La Cucaracha shenanigans that have gone on. And it's so wonderful to see ones dropping truth bombs like this. The youth are hungry for it. And when you're constantly being lied to and you get a whiff of truth, it's such a valuable experience because it feels so different than what you've been getting in the past, right? It feels so different than what's been going on. And I know that growing up, I knew that, when I was young, everything was so clear. It's crazy the level of clarity I have, but it was so different than what parents and teachers and, everybody thought was the truth that, I had to let go of that clarity in order to feel connected with family and with friends and stuff like this, But I remember, 5 years old, it's like I had a lot of clarity happening when I was sitting, in a church pew thinking, wow, none of these people know really what God's all about. None of these people know anything of what they're preaching. You know, I mean, I was 5 thinking that. So yeah, so there is, you know, the truth is really desperately needed, and that's why I posted that, and I posted on my private Facebook profile, not any of the groups. So I apologize for that. I should probably post it in the groups, our social media groups. Um, but what it was is that there is a rapper on YouTube, guys. You guys actually should all check him out. He's a real crazy looking white dude. You know, he's got like mega tattoos and braided hair, blonde guy, and his name is Tom McDonald. I think it's Tom McDonald, MacDonaldL, LD, sorry, dyslexic, LD. And he's a rapper, and he raps just straight up truths. There's no swear words. There's no gross sexualization. There, you know, he's very just straight up the truth. And he says it so directly, so succinctly. His videos go viral. So I posted this young man's assessment. It was a black man assessment of his video called Snowflake. And I did that because, you know, there's a lot of narrative out there that that criticizes white rappers, right? So because it feels like, I think it get, you know, there's this weird twist that happens of criticism when with just being white these days, right? So anyway, I chose that young man because he was really smart, and he seemed to really get it together, and I liked a lot of the comments that he was saying, and his video went viral, and it was over 1 million views in like 6 hours or something like that. He's on YouTube, and I encourage you guys to check him out. He's one of those truth speakers, and the fact that he's so popular and going so viral, especially for a white guy, right? Through many communities. I mean, he is weaving through all kinds of communities, not just the white suburbia community. You know, he appeals to a lot of people, regardless of race, creed, or color. You know, and I feel a lot of hope from that, because that's showing me how hungry people are for the truth, and how much they want to support the truth when they hear it. You know, he's self-produced. He writes his own song. He performs his own songs. His girlfriend produces all his videos. They're a 2-man team doing all this, when normally, when you're like with a record label, you have a whole entourage of highly skilled artists that write the song and then produce the song, then mix the song. Then, you know what I mean? It's a whole, and it's just him. It's just him and his girlfriend. And they are getting number one, on the charts up high. And I'm not sure if he ever made number one or not, but it sounds like he's on his way there, with his truth talk. So that's really great. That's really wonderful to see. My faith in humanity is getting restored. All right. All right. So Tasha goes on to say, the strange thing is these truths are only shared with AP students. Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I remember that was so when I was in school as well. There was only AP, like AP students were treated differently, and so were the baccalaureates too. All right. AP history is the class specifically my 17-year-old is in, and he was told by the teacher that the curriculum is only taught to that specific class. Still work to do, but a step in the right direction. Yeah. Well, because they have to create like an elitist, they have to create separations in groups. So the less thans have this program, and the ones who are really smart that aren't going to submit to that kind of conditioning / narrative, they need to go into this program. So it's like they get the I am special treatment, and therefore, they're more likely as they grow up to keep that separation enforced, because they're being placed at a more higher echelon. You can call it like that. So it's all about dividing people in different ways. And when you have people that like the way they're divided, they're going to reinforce it. It's just the way that is. And then when you have people feeling really righteous about how it's divided, then they're going to reinforce it. That's just the way it is. A great example is the whole, La Cucaracha shenanigans. All kinds of people were saying terrible things to other people that they don't agree with, or they have a narrative in mind, and they start dehumanizing people without actually really inquiring, why do you feel this way? Why do you have those thoughts? Why this? Why that? Instead, it's, you are less than human because ... And it's on both sides of the fence. One side of the fence points a finger at the other side, and they're both using the exact same argument, the exact same word, rhetoric, to criticize each other, to dehumanize each other. That is a sign that there's manipulation going on, folks. That's a sign. Oh, gosh. I feel like I've just quoted a comedian. Wasn't there a comedian saying, here's your sign? What's that guy's name? Foxworthy, maybe? I would be curious to walk around with, with some postcards and write down the stereotype and say, here's your sign. Okay, so going back to the solar flash thing. There are many people that really resonate with that, okay? And there's many people that also resonate with the idea of Galactic Federation sending ships down to pick up their people, so to speak, right? Thank you, Polly. Jeff Foxworthy. That's right. Thank you, Polly. Yeah. Maybe we're dating ourselves with that one. I don't know if he's still around or not. I don't watch TV or cable or anything, so I don't really know. Anyway, so where was I at? Right, the landing, the Galactic Federation stuff. So there's this whole narrative about, UFOs coming, grabbing people, their people, only certain people, and taking them during some sort of during the cataclysm or whatever. And there's even the narrative of the cataclysm. What does that mean? Some people call it a magnetic pole reversal. A lot of science is enforcing the idea of a magnetic pole reversal. Some people think it's going to be physical. Some people think that it's not going to happen at all because we will be we'll be creating from a different place within ourselves, and it doesn't have to happen. And then there's also the whole narrative, which you guys know that I talk about all the time. Or maybe I question it all the time, is the whole timeline splitting. There's going to be, into two different versions of the planet, the ones that stick to the polarity, fear-based exploration of evolution, or the new Earth, so to speak, exploration. What other narratives are there out there that you feel suspicious of? I take the stance that there's always lies within the truth. It's never the straight up truth. It's always, a little bit of truth covered with a bunch of lies, or the other way around, right? Where you get a lot of truth and then underneath it is a deeply embedded subversive misinformation lie that diverts, that hijacks the whole effort, the whole intent.
Oh, really?
All right. I'm going to move over just a little bit.
How did you come here?
Oh, yeah. So here, I have another one for you guys. Yeah, I'm just going to move over a little bit. See if I can get a handle on everything I have. Here we go. All right. This is better. So let me know if the Wi-Fi connection is still good this far away. It looks like it's not going to rain. Not yet, anyway. All right, dear. Oh, yeah. The flat Earth theory is supposed to be a psy-op. Yes. Actually, I have an interesting story about that. So I heard about the theory, and I never seriously looked into it. It's not necessarily something that resonated for me, but I saw this video where they were describing multidimensional reality and the ripple effects of multidimensional reality. And I thought, It's like, wow, that's like the best video I've ever seen that explained the multidimensional ripple effect. And I posted it, and all kinds of people got pissed because it turns out it was a flat Earth. There's a flat Earth information video. I never put two and two together. I never thought I did. I had no idea that it was talking about. Thank you, Tony, for letting me know that it's all that the signal's good. I had no idea that they were talking about flat Earth. I just really liked the description of the multidimensional ripple effect. You know, I was like, holy crap! I had no idea. So, lies within the truth, guys. Lies within the truth. That's how it goes. Always, always, always. So there's parts within that theory that do have that are real, that are the truth. But of course, there's that other aspect where it becomes misleading or distorted. So, yeah, that's a real interesting one. I kind of feel like flat Earth theory is a misqualification of multidimensional reality. That's how I feel it is. But maybe you guys have another sense of that. There was another one. What was the other one? It had to do with Nasara. Have you guys heard about that one? The Nasara, which means the world economy going to quantum currency. I'm curious if you guys have heard about that. Again, another one, distortions, lies within the truth. I imagine there being. See, there's here's something that really resonates as the truth for me, and this is the work of George Kavasilis, and I've mentioned him before, and that is this idea of a multigalactic empire, a multigalactic power over dynamic where life force is a commodity, traded, sold, okay? And everybody is enslaved in the system to play a role within the system, which is always siphoning off life force energy in some level. So ultimately, it's a reality based in a finite reality, not an infinite reality. And I do resonate with that. And once I started opening my awareness to feeling into what that's about, that's when I started realizing different councils and different narratives about like the Galactic Federation, Intergalactic Federation, were potentially part of empire. Okay. And then this is also where I started to understand on a larger scope exo-politics, that just because beings are of higher frequency or of higher dimension or whatever doesn't necessarily mean they're divine / benevolent, right? It means more that they're higher dimensional beings, which and the only way for us to be in right relationship with that is for us to have our own level of multidimensional awareness and personal autonomy, sovereignty over who we are. So we can we can connect with those higher dimensional beings and have a dialogue, but we're not, giving ourselves over to them. We are finding out what they're about. And then we can decide, if we're down with that agenda or not. All right, dear Sister Polly says, I remember in the church it was said, the devil mixes lies with the truth. Yes, 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 yes. All right, so it's a highly polarized example, but yes, absolutely. And when you know it, the devil and the God are playing for the same team, right? Which is give your power away, give your power away, give your power away, give your dignity away, give your personal empowerment as a infinite being in a biosuit away to another. That's a good one. Let's see, there's another one in here. Oh yeah. I want to talk about that landing. So Project Bluebeam, that's where the fake alien invasion, right? I kind of feel like that actually could be a real thing, only because I can see UFOs in the sky. I mean, I see a lot of activity, and I can tell when I'm looking at something that's our government or not. And the first time that I noticed that was, blender's going. it's margarita time, maybe. Um, is I was in Sedona with a friend. I was with a group of friends, and actually, it's a really funny story because he was a Tony Robbins kind of mentor type. He trained with Tony Robbins and was a mentor with Tony Robbins. I don't know if you know this, but he has like a team of mentors when he does those really big events. He has all these tiers of hierarchy of mentors that work with these groups, and he was, one of those mentors, I believe. And he was telling me, he was talking about past lives and soul reincarnation, and he was like open to all this stuff. But then um I said, well, that's cool. I'm like, what about UFOs? What about ETs? What do you think of that? And he's like, oh, all of those guys are crazy. That's what he said. And I kid you not, like maybe 5 seconds after he said that, I started to go into the elders that I've worked with that refer to the teachings coming from extraterrestrial sources like the Pleiadians and stuff like this. And and we're looking out over the balcony. We're in Sedona, and we see a formation of three gigantic, I mean, multiple football fields wide, gigantic motherships flying in formation. And the really weird thing about it is that they were cloaked. So to the eye, right, you could barely tell. You could just see the movement. But for some reason, I'm seeing with this other aspect of myself, and I could, you see like this tip, like they kind of like tipped a little bit from wind or whatever, So you see the formation kind of do this tilt, and then I just knew with every part of my being that was a government ship, that was our government's ships, and they're humongous, absolutely humongous. I mean, like wingtip to wingtip, 3 football fields, maybe, and what we did, and we had a contrast or a juxtaposition, because you can also see airplanes in the sky that were like these little dots, and they would move across the sky real slowly. But these ships, they were like real fast. It was interesting. So that was the first time I saw what I thought were ships that were based in, that were humans, right? But now there seems to be more and more and more of them. So when I hear the story about Project Bluebeam, I'm thinking, yeah, that could be a thing. That could be a thing. I can, now that the La Cucaracha shenanigans has unfolded, and the subsequent jibbity jab enforcements, I think that they're ballsy enough to do anything now, right? Anything now. So the cool thing is that, there's a lot of people that are waking up to stuff, and there's a lot of people that are really not down for dehumanizing groups anymore. They're not down for demonizing people because of their beliefs or because of their practices, or you know what I mean. Even the whole anti-vax, pro-vax narrative. There's a lot of people that are changing their tune around that, because they recognize that that something's not right. Something's not right within that. And what isn't right in that, I'm sure, is up to debate. But the key is that they're not willing to be as dehumanizing as they once were on either side of the fence, right? So just to recap a little bit about the whole psy-op thing, that there's the getting triggered because information is challenging a belief system, but then there's getting triggered as a result of purposely executed mind control. Okay, so when you're getting triggered by something questioning your belief system, that initial trigger reaction will process, it'll move, it'll start bring things up inside of you, and you'll start coming to different relationship to the information, and then you'll grow into it, right? You're going to grow into it. But when it's something that's more in like a manipulative kind of nature, or maybe weaponized type, then it's like you get locked in and there's nowhere to go. It's getting painted in a corner, and there's no digesting it. and coming to another place. It's just constant bombardment, 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 and the polarization just gets stronger, 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 and then you're locked in. And this is something to be aware of. And the whole reason why it works is because there's always threads of truth within it, right? There's always threads of truth within it. That's why these things work. If it was all at 100% a lie, then, people wouldn't buy into it. But because there's threads of truth within it, then, then we get bait. We kind of take the bait, and then it takes us down a rabbit hole, and all kinds of manipulation starts happening after that. Bottom line is you need to not be willing. You need to refuse to be willing to give up your humanity. Okay? That should be, I'm going to use the word should. That should be your line when you are in a place where you are willing to dehumanize another being because you think you're right and they're wrong. That's your cue. That's your barometer. Okay? It's really important that we navigate this chaos, keeping our humanity intact, keeping our compassion intact. And I don't mean folding, and I'm not talking about being weak or meek or a pushover. I'm not saying that at all, because it takes a lot of character, personal character, to withstand these bombardments, But the deeper your commitment is to your humanity, and the deeper your commitment to yourself being in your truth, that's gonna be the navigation through the obstacle course. And the whole, and I did leave out, okay, there's one other psy-op I want to mention because this is important, and that is the green movement. Now, I am all for humans being proper caretakers of this planet. Absolutely. Absolutely. Humans are the caretakers of this planet. We need to take care of each other. We need to take care of nature. We need to all live as if we are a benefit of life. We need to cultivate this reality so we're handing beauty to future generations. But the current green movement, with the narrative as it is one big manipulation. It is all about dividing and separating and demonizing people. A great example is that there's a lot of people in cities that are haters towards people that drive gas guzzlers, right? Like pickup trucks and diesel dualies and all this stuff. And they're made to be, ignorant rednecks. All right. Ignorant rednecks is the attitude. And what I need to say to folks that have that attitude, it's like, listen, there is a massive blue collar population. Okay. That's plumbers, electricians, builders. Okay. There's a massive blue collar population that we need in order to have a functioning society. Your plumbing goes out, you need to call a plumber. I don't know if you know this, but they need to drive big vehicles. They need to have their equipment with them. They are the ones who are driving these gas guzzlers. A lot of them, of course, not the the Humvee people, but that's different. I'm talking about the ones that are accused of being rednecks and ignorant gas guzzler drivers, all that stuff. It's like that is such a truncated view of the bigger picture. Is that these people don't go to college. They instead acquire a skill. And they have to pay for all of their equipment. They have to, they're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for their tools, for, those trucks. Those trucks can be $85,000, right? And that's like an investment in their craft, in their trade. You have to have them. And right now, there's such a decline in the interest of developing a trade that they're saying for every 7 plumbers that retire, there's 3 that come into business. So that means, if you do the math on that, this is really going to be a huge problem, especially if the population is going to explode and we're going to continue urban sprawler and all this stuff. It's like you need your plumbers, you need your electricians, you need your construction workers. You need these people to upkeep the infrastructure and to build new. There's this place I was in this place called Cocoa Creek, Tennessee. People are buying land left and right. Because it's affordable, but there's no builders. There are no unless you're building yourself. There's no builders to build your house. There's no builders to build your homestead. And this is what's interesting. There's this whole community of people that bought all this acreage throughout those hills because it's a free county, all right, kind of a lawless county, right? You can do whatever you want. There's no building restrictions or regulations or whatever. But I talked to so many people that have been waiting years, plural, years, to get their house built because there are no builders that will come and build their house in that area of the mountains. And I talked to another guy who had to move out of his house because he had an electrical problem, and he had to wait over a year for an electrician to come to his house and rewire it. Right? Because it's like we need these workers, and they're declining, and then they're on top of that this demonization thing's going on. What? That doesn't make any sense. It makes zero sense. And I there's this commenter I saw on YouTube. It was cracking me up. It was cracking me up, man. They're all about, it's like gangster rap and stuff, and all driving Humvees and glam this and glam that, and I think she was a millennial. She looked young, and somehow it got turned into it was an independent video. Gosh, I wish I could remember the channel's name. Anyway, it turned into making fun of hillbillies driving whatever, driving pickup trucks or whatever. And I was just like, talk about the hypocrisy. Like, what the heck? Bling bling all this, but none of y'all would have any of that if it wasn't for that ignorant guy driving that pickup truck that busted his ass building that trade, building the skills of that trade. It was amazing. Anyway, going back to, it's all about the dehumanizing. All these narratives, you can cut through it like a knife. If it is requiring, or if it is calling for you to dehumanize another person that you don't know, that you know nothing about other than some stereotype, that's your cue. That's your cue to step out of the program and step into the real truth of what's going on, what's right in front of you. It's really, really unfortunate that there's so much division going on. Oh, yeah, another one is breeders, right? I was actually called a breeder. Oh, my God. That was hilarious. All right, now listen, now my daughter, actually both my daughters consider themselves fluid. So, I mean, I get the movement, but I had actually someone in a derogatory tone call me a breeder. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, what? It's like, if it wasn't for a breeder, you wouldn't be on this planet either, It was unbelievable. So we really, the more we can hold this space of the importance in our value system of our humanity, all this other manipulative stuff will fall to the wayside, fall to the wayside, because it's all about dividing and conquering, dividing and conquering, dividing and conquering. It only works if we let them. And so, as starseeds, as indigos, y'all know better. Each of you know better. And we can't be hermits anymore. We got to, interact with society and really be an example of, hey, be the example of questioning the narrative, or, questioning, like, why is it like that? Why is that attitude there? Why is that political angle there? Why is that movement being propagated the way it is? It only takes a few of us. We don't need to be the majority. We just need someone to voice it. And then we give courage for others to voice what they're thinking or what they're feeling too. And then our humanity can take over from there. Hello, dear sister. Cosmic Kestrel, welcome, welcome. Alrighty. Now we're at the end though, so I'm going to start wrapping up. I want to let you guys know that, you guys can follow what's happening with these different pieces on our social media. I do get those messages, so I will respond to comments and stuff like this via the chats. I may not respond with a comment or whatever, or maybe someone on my team will respond to you guys, because I just don't have the bandwidth to be online. I only can look at electronics so much, and I'm zoomed out. I'm zoomed out. I'm social media out. Um, but I do appreciate the comments, and I really like them coming in and reading what you guys are thinking, what's happening with you, and even the stuff that comes off as criticism. It's like I understand that sometimes we don't know how to respond. Sometimes there's lack of experience / maturity to recognize how to respond in a way that is not degrading. But I'm always about taking it up to the next level of integrity. We need to be able to express different ideas and views. It's not good or bad, right or wrong. And once we are in that mindset, none of it, we don't take any of it personally because it doesn't matter. There's nothing worth letting go of our humanity about, right? So thank you all for being here. If you guys want to check out the Dreamtime Healing Project, we have spaces available. You can go to lightbodyacademy.com and check out the Dreamtime Healing Project. This is where we track into Dreamtime, unraveling the distractions of that canopy so you can step into your ability as a multidimensional being of dreaming this world into being, becoming that empowered, visionary way shower / leader that you truly are. Okay, so that's that for that. Thank you again. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.